Hello and welcome back to Council Watch. Yesterday was planning. Now normally for the last few months planning has been really good. Nothing unpleasant ever happens and it all appears to be quite organised and streamlined. They have to either recommend approval or not, as the case may be, and generally the members of this particular committee are all on the same sort of train lines, and it's usually unanimous approval. They recommend that the planning is approved, or unanimous sort of, oh dear, this is a problem one. Well, actually yesterday's meeting did exactly the same, but what was odd happened just at the start of the meeting. You know, the bit where we talk about the fire alarms and stuff like that. Sometimes little things get slipped in. Did you notice a few months back we suddenly had a new little bit that said predetermination? So councillors who have already made their mind up on something, it's not allowed. We also had, if you remember, looking back at before and after the AGM time, there was a question as to whether these things should be live streamed so we can see them live as they're happening. And I think it wasn't unanimous. I think one person really didn't think it was a good idea, but everybody else did. And it was like, yeah, we're going to carry on live streaming. Well, clearly somebody wasn't quite happy with that. Watch this.
Additional lighting should be used without prior consent. Anyone wishing to report on the meeting or anyone not wishing to be filmed or photographed should notify the clerk or chair. The meeting will be live streamed on YouTube, therefore please remember to speak clearly and use your microphone, remembering to switch it off when you have finished. As the chair of the meeting, I have the discretion to suspend or terminate the live streaming if, in my opinion, continuing to do so would prejudice the proceedings of the meeting.
See, this is very new. The chair of the meeting now has the power to suspend the live stream if she thinks it's prejudicial to the conduct of the meeting. And I don't think Jen Jones knew that that was in what she was about to read out. I'm not sure, but I don't think so from the expression on her face.
Improper conduct or disruptive behaviour will not be tolerated. Please raise your hand to indicate you wish to speak and wait for me to call upon you. As chair of the meeting, I will determine the order in which members will be invited to speak, and anyone who wants to speak will be heard. To ensure the efficiency of the meeting, no member may speak for more than 3 minutes on one item or more than once.
Now, while that first bit is a new entry to the rule book and doesn't appear to be in standing orders that I can see, this last bit is. The rule about the 3-minute thing has always been there, I think. It's just never been implemented. Now, looking back at the history of the council and why I started the channel, sometimes it's because people have extremely strong viewpoints one way and somebody else will have an extremely strong viewpoint the other, and those two people then monopolise the meetings, mainly because they're the ones that are willing to sort of argue, I suppose. Arguing nicely might be one way of doing it and probably okay. Arguing not so nicely, well, we know how that has happened in the past. But it looks like they're now going to instigate the 3-minute rule and basically speak. Someone else comments. You might, if it was yours, be asked to sort of expand a bit more, but that's it. So this backwards and forwards, toing and froing, has now obviously upset somebody enough that they're going to actually put it into action. And my guess will be that somebody in the meeting, one of the officials, will have to be doing the clock watching thing at every single meeting. No point whatsoever in planning because it never needs it. Some meetings, yeah, they do go on, but planning was a bit of an interesting one to slip it into. Maybe the idea was to pop it into planning, get it up and working and nothing would ever happen and it would never be important, and then it could be used as an example of, well, planning do it. Is that me being a bit suspicious? Possibly. Anyway, it carried on.
As possible. Please, may I also remind you to be polite and respectful towards one another at all times. Please put your phones on silent mode and put phones away for the duration of the meeting and adhere to the no smoking policy of this building and its grounds.
And did you notice another little addition there? Please put your phones on silent. Yep, that's been in pretty much every meeting. And now they've added and put them away. If you watch carefully in the meetings, quite a few of the councillors have their phone in front of them. And some of them will be tapping on it from time to time. You often see that. And that's not allowed either. So phones have got to be away. Someone's tightening up here and they're looking at the little tiny details.
That new readout was a mouthful. Right, we have here with us councillors Christian Newsom, Lee Shungman, Wendy Brooks, and myself, Jen Jones, and Taylor Williams, Planning Assistant and Committee Clerk.
I was sort of waiting for someone to say something, and then I spotted Wendy put her hand up, and she'd noticed too.
Yes.
I'm not sure when the introduction was changed or why it was changed, because it certainly wasn't the recommendation from the standing orders. Certainly not the item about you can only speak once for 3 minutes, and I don't know who's made that change or why. It's not just this meeting. I noticed the other night in full council, but not quite so lengthy as we seem to have here, because this isn't, I don't know where it's come from, because it's certainly the standing orders working group made recommendations that went to F&G that were approved. So I don't know where this has come from. Maybe Taylor can enlighten me.
Yeah, I can't enlighten you.
No, I don't know, Jen. I'm not. It's not. Yeah.
I'll check with the office, but I don't think standing orders has anything to do with announcements before
No,
the meeting.
It doesn't reflect standing orders.
Well, that was actually a really good hedge by Taylor. She doesn't normally do that. She normally comes out with yes and no answers, but this one, that was a real definite deflection. And then oddly, she keeps her head down. And even when they're talking about it, she doesn't respond very much. So my guess would be she was the guinea pig on this one. And let's see if we can sort of get this one through and nobody will notice. But they did. And the response was a little bit dodgy, to be fair.
I know the 3-minute rule is in standing orders.
No, it's changed. It's not. Yes. I don't really want to rehash the debate.
No.
Because it is about debate and discussion.
Mhm.
But also the thing about being able to pause it whenever we feel like it for streaming is bizarre.
Okay, well,
That's new.
Taylor can speak.
I think we need clarification. It's not just for this meeting, because it's come up in other. I didn't pick it up at full council, so I'm using this meeting that I'd really like some answers as to. It's very heavy-handed, I think.
Okay, well, I'm sure Taylor can speak to the office and find out, and perhaps email councillors to let them know, maybe.
Sorry?
Perhaps Taylor can find out and then email councillors to let them know. Right, moving on with this meeting.
Well, that was very odd. We have one official for this meeting who has to keep the minutes, has to answer questions, and shortly will also be the person with the stopwatch. That clearly isn't going to work. And the other odd thing here was that the preamble that Jen read out says that she, as the chair of the meeting, makes the decision to cease the live stream. One would have thought that someone would have told her her new responsibility and what criteria would be in place for actually pressing the button. But they didn't. So it's all a bit strange, isn't it? It's also very weird that Wendy Brooks and I are thinking exactly the same thing. And I'm glad that she brought it up, because someone needed to. They've got standing orders, and little tiny changes to standing orders have to be discussed and agreed, yet a big sort of wodge of new stuff just get bunged into a meeting, and everybody sort of is expected to go along with it. No phones, being nice to each other, and then this idea of a big switch off. My guess is, of course, that some of the councils across the country are behaving crazily badly that make Lowestoft Town Council look like sort of saints. and I wonder if there is some local government officer organisation that is sharing information about what they're doing to try and prevent things happening. I mean, I'm referring to things like Thetford Council recently. They had to call the police because it was going extremely awry. But we haven't got that far yet, and I hope we never do. But something weird has obviously happened, and I think in the next few meetings people might well be talking about it. Anyway, let's leave this one there. See you on the next one. Hopefully things will become more clear. See you later. Take care.